Okay, welcome to another episode of 10K Hours. I'm Michael Pecchia, and I have Justin Fields on the other side.
How's it going?
And we wanted to welcome Aldis Hodge to the show once again.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, what's going on? Once an amazing actor, but we wanted to talk about from his first show, Die Hard with a Vengeance, to his latest one that is in post, One Night in Miami, playing Jim Brown. Welcome.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's happening, everybody?
Yeah. Once again, and I got to jump in here. Once again, we met a little further back at another company, but I bumped into you during this COVID-19 experience hiking to clear our heads. And once again, we were out clearing our heads. It was one of those moments that we needed to get out. You were doing your thing. We social distanced, right? It was very respectful.
We had
We were doing
masks.
what we needed to do. But we reconnected, talked about a little business, but said we had this show, and you were like, yes, I want to be on. So thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Yes, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So jumping in, how did you know you wanted to become an actor? What's the story behind that, of this journey?
I mean, for me, I didn't really know. My brother, Edwin Hodge, who is still doing his thing right now in a big way, he started acting first. He used to tell my mom that he wanted to be in the box, which was the TV set. And he was watching the Cosby Channel. He wanted to be on the Cosby Show. So, we were living, I think, in Hawaii at the time. Both my parents were Marines. We were stationed out there, but Mom's packed it up, moved us over east to Jersey, and we would go back and forth to New York with my brother doing this thing. And then he was 3 when he started. I was 2, but one of his jobs, they needed an extra kid, And my mom volunteered me, and I was all about it because every time my brother did a job, he got a toy. So for me at that age, 2 or 3, I was like, yo, let me get these Batman toys. Yeah, I want to, sit here and do a little print, whatever,
Yeah.
So I was getting my Batman hustle up, but that's how it started really. And, we hit the East Coast doing, we actually did some extra work. We did print commercials. I remember, I think one of my first commercials was like, it was a diaper commercial for like, no, it wasn't. It was underwear for Fruit of the Loom.
Fruit of the Loom, wow, yeah.
Did you perform with the vegetables?
You said what?
Did you perform with the fruits?
Yeah. That's the question I was going to ask. I was like, did you meet the Grape Guy? How's he like? What's he like?
Weird. It's me and another toddler wearing like the baby underwear or something like that, running through sheets. It was strange. It was whimsical, like, oh, look at these, look, it's beautiful and austere. It's like, it's weird. But it was a cool experience. So then after that, my brother and I ended up on Sesame Street for about 2 years.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It was a cool experience. And, we did a few things here and there. And Die Hard came about when my brother had the audition. I actually didn't have the audition, but he went in there. He auditioned for Sam Jackson was reading the kids in the room. Mm-hmm. And when my brother came out, he was done. Sam popped his head out of the casting office and said, are there any other boys here to read? And my mom said, I got one more.
I got one more.
Smart mama.
Because while my brother was in there auditioning, she gave me the sides and said, look, just learn these sides just in case. So by the time Sam came out, I was already ready, and I had a quick memory. So I got it down. I went in there on audition, and I ended up getting the job. And my brother Edwin actually played my best friend in the film. And after we shot that film, he ended up playing Sam Jackson's son in Long Kiss Goodnight, his next movie. So it kind of came back full circle.
That's good.
That's one of my favorite ones. Long Kiss Goodnight is a great movie that a lot of people don't really remember. That's such a great one.
Man.
Yeah, that's a great one.
And that alleviated
Gina Davis,
any sibling rivalry there. You got that part? Because that was my next question.
Well, like my mom always raised us with the truth about the illusion of competition. There is no such thing. When it came to us in the house, we never had competition. It was always about us supporting each other. And if one got, we all got. That's how we rock. And we still rock like that today. And most people find it kind of strange that, we support each other fully. But the thing is, my mom taught us what's for you is for you. So what my brother got was for him. What I got was for me. It put us on our path. And the only thing that we can do alone that is continue to understand how to support and give love without jealousy, without envy. So we never had it, amongst each other. Also, when it comes to the industry and you're auditioning and doing your thing, I try to get young actors to understand that there's no real such thing as competition, because you go in there with all that you have, which is really all you need, your individual self. That's what sets us all apart. But there's so many defining factors that determine whether or not you get a job that are outside of your control. All you can't control how somebody else looks or what 10 other people in the room may say. Well, this is more the flavor we want, yada, yada. He's a great actor. She's a great actress, but we were looking for this other little thing. You can't control that. All you can do is your best. That's it.
Yeah.
Because
that's really amazing. That's really amazing. That's really amazing because we were talking about artists earlier and having critiques about their artwork, and acting is kind of the same way of having that thick skin of figuring out how to let it roll off your shoulder. Because if you did do 100%, then you walk out proud. There is no other way to look at it. You did your job and it's done. Like you said, those other factors you have no control over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard thing with acting because your craft is tied to your livelihood. So you do take it personally. And this is an industry where
it's hard not to, right? It's hard not to.
I mean, people are going to tell you everything about you that makes you perfect is wrong for this job and wrong for that job. You know what I mean? And you have to go in there with full confidence and belief in who you are. Even myself, I got to a point of really not enjoying the audition process. And this was actually just a few years ago, my late 20s. I really couldn't stand it because it wasn't fulfilling. But then I had to learn how to love it because it's still a part of what I do. And I had to figure out how to not walk into a room carrying that baggage, that weight. So I just said, look, I'm not here to audition to get the job. I don't care what y'all think. I don't care about trying to please y'all, because at the end of the day, they really don't know what they want in the room. They'll see something that sparks a new idea, and they're like, oh, that's it. That was completely what we didn't think of, but that's perfect. It's not about pleasing people in the room. You got to go in there for yourself. So for me, these days, I don't audition as much, but, for me, it's like I want to go into the room and please myself. That's it. As long as I can walk out of there saying I did my thing, I'm good.
Yeah.
And nothing else really matters.
Is there anything, like you're walking into the room, are there any things that you do to ground yourself before walking in that you can pass on to, just artists listening? Because I know it's a personal thing of what you do. I do different thing, grounding things, but anything you could pass along?
Yeah.
In terms of grounding myself, I feel like my foundation comes from my roots before I even leave the house. It's my family. I have foundation at home, and that's my core. And working off of that source, when I walk into a room, I try to go in there as free as possible. I want to alleviate any stress, any anxiety. I want to alleviate any sense of desperation or need for that particular job. If ever I'm nervous, let it be from excitement and not from fear, because there are jobs that the prospect of which does excite me. But, you don't want to go in there.
You want to be a blank canvas. You want to be like a blank canvas going in there, right?
To a degree, yeah. I mean, you have to be able to leave your mind free enough to do your job, because as an actor, auditioning is a huge part of your job. When you go in there, you got to figure out, like, I'm working. I'm not trying to do something. I'm not hopefully maybe this is my job today to audition for this particular thing. So you got to go in at your top game. Leave all the stresses and personal anxieties at home unless you can use them in the room. If you're mad at something and the role calls for you being mad about X, Y, and Z, use that as source material, but don't let it distract you. Right. But make sure that you understand the job you have to do before you walk into the room to do it.
Yeah.
Don't go in there hoping and wishing and living in la la land. Go in there knowing who you are, knowing your power in the room, and execute. You got a job to do. It's that simple.
Well, you've mentioned a couple times now, like it all comes from like your upbringing. You mentioned your mom a couple times too. So what was that like? Where do you think that she got that wisdom from you know, to instill in you guys, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and where can we drink from that fountain, I guess is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like you guys were, you know, taught the right way.
You don't want to drink from that fountain.
No? No? Oh, okay. All right. Never mind then. Never mind.
I say that because, you know, my mother's a beautiful soul. And for much of her life, she had unfortunate beginnings because of just roughness. So that's why I say that fountain is just hard knocks teaching her, hard knocks shaping her, hard knocks, you know, putting her in a place where she did not want to repeat the cycle. So her whole process when it came to us, my siblings, was how am I going to break the cycle? How am I going to show them real love and show them real support and actually instill value in them? How I'm going to let them know that they should see themselves as valuable, you know? You know, my mom to me is a miracle, you know, from all the things that she went through. She should be bitter. She should be angry. She should be, you know, much worse off, but she's still a beautiful spirit who finds the strength to love and laugh. And she knows nothing but being a fighter. She was a Marine after all. You know, she fights for her. She fought for our country. She fought for me and my siblings. And that's what she gave me and my siblings, is the will to fight, the strength, the understanding, the necessity to keep going in the face of adversity. So we don't know anything else. You put a stone wall in front of us, we're going to figure out how to get through it or get over it, but ain't no stopping. We don't know that language.
That's your foundation. Those are your building blocks, which means that is deep and strong, man. You're not getting by that. But no, that's we talk about that to artists and stuff, of understanding what your building blocks are, and making sure they're you're grounded and it's solidified for you. And not everybody has that, and that's it's a difficult thing to overcome for certain people. But fortunately, you had your mom, like you said. You wouldn't wish any of that on anybody else, but she was able to round it off and create a positive experience for you and your siblings to build off and go in the right direction. So kudos to your mom, and, you know, hats off to her being a strong woman.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, no, she's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. So jumping back into the film world, what movies inspired you? Did you have any movies that inspired you growing up? I mean, you've been doing this since, which I didn't realize, 2 or 3 years old. So this has been your life. But, you know, do you have any, you know, movies that inspire you?
So the movies, it's hard, like, to say, because there's so many different types of things that inspire me from different types of films. But I do remember as a child, something that was really effective for me. I watched The Professional. Or at least I guess the French version of it was called Léon, starring Jean Reno. And
such a great movie.
That was just, man, I mean, Gary Oldman in that flick, like his turn as a villain, it was incredible.
He
like,
said, "Go back inside." That's what I love. It's such a great line.
What?
When he goes, when the old lady comes out and he yells at her, he goes, "He said, go back inside." You know, just, oh man, so many great moments in that movie. Oh, so good.
Absolutely.
So good.
I watched that religiously as a kid. It was awesome. I just thought it was a cool movie with a cool vibe. And then I know that my mother really loved Don Cheadle's performance in Devil in a Blue Dress, which made me love his performance in Devil in a Blue Dress, because she thought, you know, his performance as Mouse was just so smooth. And I was like, you know, one of these days I'm gonna play a role like that. You know, I'm gonna get there. And then I started writing scripts around 13 years old. So a few years later, after that,
13?
Crash came around.
Wow.
Yeah, 13. Yeah,
Wow.
my brother was writing, so that inspired me to write, because I wanted to control my own narrative, control my own autonomy as an entertainer, and produce my own jobs for myself. Because just being an actor is cool if it's cool, you know, but there are moments where you just don't feel satisfied or fulfilled, because opportunities that you know you should, the opportunities you know you could completely just, I mean, if you put you on screen, you could just destroy the role completely, kick butt in it. They don't pop up, you know. You got to do the extra work, which I think is the best thing, because you should want to do that extra work. You know, it's a full art, and you should experience all facets of it. But yeah, so Crash inspired my idea of, or understanding of, how to intertwine stories seamlessly, because the way they made everything connect, it was just cool to me how it all made sense. And I was like, oh, so now if I go back and I pay attention to this, I'm looking at this part differently. And, you know,
Right.
I thought Paul Haggis did a great job with that. And that always stuck with me as a youngin'. And then, you know, so many different things. Like I said, you know, Man on Fire is one of my favorite movies. I think Denzel's performance in that is just, it's a full performance, well-rounded. I mean, it's Denzel, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like when does Denzel actually disappoint? Like never. I don't think I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen, you know, Denzel. I'm like, oh, this is not. No, it's always good. He's always amazing.
Always good, yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of aggravating, actually. It's like you're always.
Yeah. let the man be good. Let the man be good.
Right.
That boy good. But I like the style, the visual context applied to that film. I like the filters they used. I'm sure they shot it on film, but the flow, the story, the pace, characters, the development, I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
So it's a good point. You just mentioned you're looking at all aspects of the film, from the look, the feel, the wording. You're just, it's really interesting to hear you're just not doing your acting. You're looking at the whole, it's like a big picture, a film. And for me, film, you got to understand just not your part of how it affects the whole picture. It's like a big painting.
Yeah.
That you're acting, how it affects everything. But then, you know, it's shot on film. The DP's doing his job. The lighter's doing this job. You as an actor have to understand every aspect to make you a better actor of what everybody's doing. Would you agree on that?
Absolutely. I talk to actors all the time and look, everybody has their own process. I respect it. My process is mine. I've spoken to and have worked with actors who only care about their acting and really just their own acting, no one else's, and, you know, nothing. You know, I respect it. My process is one such that I believe the more you know about your environment, the better you actually can perform, because the more options you have. You know, when the A cam operator is over here shooting on an 80 and B cam operator is over there shooting on like a 50, you know your angles, you know your depths, you know who's getting a close up and you know who's getting your body. So you know what you can do physically. You know what's going to read on camera emotionally, because you know the options you have afforded to you. When you really connect with understanding what is supposed to be happening in the scene. I'm not talking about the acting. When the director lays out, hey, visually, this is what I want to do, da da da.
Yeah.
In your mind, you can understand, all right, if this plays out like this, maybe I can enhance what the scene is supposed to be by doing X, Y, and Z. You know, are you going to be on a basketball field, you playing with a whole team, but you only worried about yourself, or are you going to be LeBron James and you know everybody's position and what everybody's supposed to be doing, where they are and where they're not, and lift your whole team up and help everybody improve in their skills? You know, you got choices.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that either tactic is more effective than the other. I just feel like, for me personally, I'd rather know the full scope, because when I step onto a project, I want to be as effective as I can be in every particular way. Also, I'm learning for when I do my own projects what to and not to do.
Yeah. It makes you more of an asset. You know what I mean? Like, it makes you a team member as opposed to a lone wolf, right? I mean, that's one of the major things that a lot of people, I think, have issues with working in film is it is a huge collaborative event, and it's a miracle that anything gets made. Like, let's be honest, like it takes a small army to make a movie, you know. But, you know, going back to what you said earlier, you know, it just kind of resonated with me, where it was just like, you know, when you were 13 and you were writing your own scripts, you know, you had the wherewithal to know that these are the kinds of roles that I like to do, that I want to do, and you made your own opportunity. And that's something that, you know, I think a lot of creatives don't understand that, or they either don't understand it, or they're waiting for their shot. right? Take your own shot, I guess is the pull away, right? Set the scenario up where you can take your best shot and control that narrative, like you said. Make that a point. If you're not getting your shot, you're not getting that call, then you make the call yourself. Do a project that's on you. Make something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I had to earn that perspective because at 12 years old, I was fired from a job for being too good, which made no sense to me.
Tell us that story.
Yeah, I gotta hear this story. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't say too good in the sense of engaging my own hubris. I mean, no conceit. But when I was on a pilot of a sitcom at the time, and I was not the lead of the show, but we shot the pilot and they tested nationally to see how well it does and how well it skews with audiences, and to get the results back. Myself, along with a couple other actors on the show, tested higher in popularity than the lead, so we got fired. And that showed me that this was a business. So it forced me to really choose at this point this industry for myself. I mean, certainly I had to earn it up to that point, but then I was like, all right, if I'm gonna do this, I'm not gonna ever feel like this again. I want to do it on my own terms. So it put a fire in me that pushed me further and forced me to understand my own value and where I wanted to be in it. So it was actually one of the best things ever that could have happened. And at 13, I was trying to figure out how to write sitcoms and all that madness and, spec scripts and whatnot.
That's amazing.
It's a great practice.
At 13, I was worried about...
Writing is not for everybody. I say that much, though. It's a skill that's...
I was not worried about writing scripts at 13. I was like, I got to get home and watch the Batman animated series.
And I just finished playing...
I was doing that, too.
You were doing that, too? Yeah.
And then when they switched it to Batman Beyond, I was on top of that, too.
Oh, that's still one of my favorites. Still one of my favorites to this day.
I can say I watched that one, too. I was older than you guys, but I did watch that one, too. I snuck in that one in high school. Yeah.
Dude, at a previous job, I was lucky enough to be a part of a project where we worked on a VR adventure that was done all in the style of that animated series. Yeah. It was super, super cool. Yeah. Very interesting.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Pretty dope.
So moving ahead, I mean, once again, you've got 73 films under your belt, which
that's such a small number. I'm just kidding.
I'm going off. I'm going off
73.
Once again, we're using our resources of IMDb. It says 73. Man, 73.
They probably put together the film and TV, but in my head, I was like, wow, that many? All right, cool. I'll wait.
That's what I'm saying. Do you have a favorite or, pieces that you like about all of them? Is there a favorite?
No, I don't have a favorite, man. It's kind of hard to choose, like picking your children. They've all taught me something different, and I pull something special from each of them. But for me, it's all just sort of nominal steps towards the bigger picture, and I'm trying to figure out what part they play in the bigger scheme of things. But plenty of things that I really enjoyed. This last film, The Invisible Man, that was a lot of fun. I mean,
I bet.
3 months, shooting in Australia. That's like workation, basically, is what I call it. And it's a great way to sort of experience life, discover different things about yourself, but also the caliber of film that we were doing, the potential of what the film could be. And as we have seen, it has more than beyond lived up to that potential. But it's just cool to be a part of art like that, where you understand, just the degree of creativity that's kind of swimming around when we're doing the whole, the visual effects of the Invisibles, man, and how we're going to display him and running around and trying to create suspense and horror and all these little things. It's really sort of an awesome experience that you go to work every day. You're like, oh, this is my job, Sort of like the surreal experience I had when I shot Black Mirror. And I was a huge fan of the show before I even got the job. In fact, when my agent called me, I didn't give her enough time to run down the deal. She said,
"You were like, yes."
The show that wants to offer you an episode is called Black Mirror, and I said yes. She said, "Oh, you know?" I said, "Yes, just whatever it is. I don't care. Yes, I'm gonna do it."
Yeah.
And for that episode, I'm sitting there with, my character's wife. She's in a coma, so she's implanted in his head. So the way we had to shoot with the camera placement and all that, and just being a part of something cool like that, man, it's like, all right, this is my regular existence.
This is your job. Yeah,
cool.
this is crazy. Yeah.
It's hard to pick a favorite when you have so many different great options to be involved with. So
yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite shows that's come out of late. It's such a great one. Black Mirror.
Oh man, it's awesome.
And definitely hearing you say that journey, like each film's a journey of your bigger journey of who you're becoming and where you're going, which is great. And that workcation, I'm on it.
Yes.
Almost every job I've taken, from going to New Zealand, India, London, all workations, man. On someone else's dime to learn a culture or experience something. Amen. Let's do it. I get it.
I mean, it's
No
cliche
complaints.
to say, but it's if you love what you do, it's not work.
Yeah.
I feel cliche every time I say it, but you know what? Like I wouldn't want to work in any other industry.
No,
Yeah,
it's a
cool.
lot of that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Since that experience with Invisible Man, would you now pick a job that puts you someplace that maybe you haven't been? Because, wow, I can experience that, and maybe it not be the top film, but you're like, hey, I could have this experience of going here or there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think they're making a few Avatar movies. I'm not sure.
you said what?
I said I think they're making a few Avatar movies. I don't know if you've heard any. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think they're making 3 at once, aren't they, or something like that?
Oh my God. I mean,
3 of
I
them.
just,
I hope we get to see them because they've been working on those forever.
I know.
they'll stroll
Man,
out.
but I definitely would. Having an exotic location to go to does sweeten the deal. But for me, the quality of the product is always paramount. It always has to be how I feel about the content and what does the script look like? Is it a good story? So if that has substance, then I'm with it. But if you say, oh, we're gonna go shoot in like Greece for a couple months, that just happens to throw a little extra on top of the incentive.
Yeah. Do you have an experience where you walked on set, whether it was home or abroad, where you were just like, oh yeah, like I'm totally transported to Atlantis. Like this is Atlantis. Like you can totally get the vibes and everything like that.
Let's see. I feel like
I just love the practical side.
with Sesame Street, most definitely.
Sesame Street? Oh wow, that must have been surreal. Yeah. I
I
never
mean,
thought about
it's
that.
like colors everywhere. Big puppets. You're sitting there hanging with Big Bird. You're like, oh yeah, got it. But I think that after that would probably be underground, because where we shot was in an actual preserved plantation where enslaved people actually, were held captive and worked. And when you step on the grounds there, just the vibe, the spirit permeates your soul, man. You can tell there's a weight there that's, people, you know who was there, you kind of feel what they went through. It resonates so strongly. So working there every day during that season, it hits you. It makes you very grateful for a lot of things in life, but it hits you.
No, that's that energy, definitely, I could understand that, and it probably enhanced your performance of
I think it did.
channeling it. Yeah, I know, I can understand that. Those spirits, the energy.
I
Definitely
think
comes through.
it brought all of our performances up because we understood a bit more of the value, of the product we were trying to bring out. We understood directly whose shoulders we were standing on, and the respect that had to be had for the product, the show that we were shooting, So it definitely influenced us in a very personal way.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And
Yeah,
relate to that.
absolutely.
Do you have a favorite director out of all your films? I don't know. You don't have to answer. It's just one of those things. I know with visual effects supervisors that I've worked with, I have some, like I was at Lord of the Rings and Joe Lettieri. I'd jump in through hoops for that man because he was there every minute of the day, and whatever he asked, I would do. So that floats to the top for me. But all of them were good, but he stands out the most for me.
I got a few that stand out, but I'm gonna just keep it close to the nose.
I get that. No, that's fine.
I like it.
I know. Now, you were on a TV series called Leverage,
Yeah.
and we both know Dean quite well.
Yeah.
I know him through. I was fortunate enough; our kids were in school together, so I got to be really close to Dean. But you were on that show for 5 seasons, which that bonding experience of being with everybody for so long, for 5 seasons, how was that?
It's cool. It's an education, and we still keep up our relationships, and we're actually bringing the show back. So, look at that.
Yeah, that's
spoilers.
I'll have to
Spoiler.
reach
No, I'm
out
just
and ask Dean about that one. That's exciting. So you guys are coming back. Can you reveal anything about that?
Absolutely not.
Dean, if you're listening, Dean, I want to know. But no, totally respect. Once again, stories always got to be locked. We get that. Yeah. Things can't go through. I mean, how many times have we signed NDAs when we're designing a show that we can't say a damn thing about it?
I almost want an NDA tattoo that just says, listen, I've signed enough of these things already. Like.
So Aldis, when through a day, if you're out of sync, what do you do to put yourself back into sync throughout a day or a week, or especially right now? I mean, we're in a cycle right now with COVID-19. What do you do to circle yourself around to put yourself back in sync?
No, I just disconnect, man. I gotta get away from the distractions, get away from social media. That's a big one. Art is my primary language, and always acting is an art for me. But I love to paint, to sketch. It forces my mind to think and focus on something that I enjoy and love without having to worry about the stress or whatever else was getting at me. So yeah, just disconnecting from the world in order to reconnect with myself.
Are you, you talked about doing outside art and stuff like that, and I think I read somewhere that you design, am I correct, watches?
I do, yeah.
Oh,
I'm a
wow.
watch designer and a horologist. I've had a company for a number of years now, always in development. I'm currently working on a new prototype that I hope to see something. I don't like to put a time limit on things, but hopefully in a year we can see a working prototype. But I'm going into development of that actually start of next month.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, wow. Now on something like that, like you said, I think it's important that you say not putting a time limit on it, right? Because it's difficult. Once again, to say, hey, 3 months, sometimes things take longer to grow. So you plant that seed with hoping that, you'd like to see in a certain amount of time, but staying open to that outcome that it could be 3, 6 months or a year or ever how long something takes. But how do you keep that fire alive in you with, just different, setbacks or something, or pushing through obstacles when it doesn't, sort of come out in your head of the way you plan it?
I relinquish expectations. And, for me, this watch dream has been something that I've been pursuing for well over 10 years now. It has evolved, and I've just allowed my expectations and rather not so much my expectations, but the understanding of the reality of it all to evolve along with my experience in it, and I just, every now and then I want to put it down, but I say, look, if I put this down now, I failed myself. It has nothing to do with anybody else. This is something I started. I said I was going to do. I said I was going to finish. And if I'm not where I want to be at this current moment, there's obviously something that I still have to learn to prepare to be where I want to be. So let me focus on trying to learn the thing that's going to get me there, as opposed to focusing on the fallacy that I think I failed myself in some way.
Right.
We oftentimes disregard the steps of preparation. We look at the idea of success and we look at it as a finite or sort of an end game, but you set up 3 goals, you're going to achieve those goals and realize that you're going to set up more goals in the process, and it's about the journey. I say it's not about the destination, because the journey is the destination. So, just take your time with it, be patient with yourself, manage your expectations, and if you still love something, if something's driving you naturally, if it's your instinct to go after it, don't let anything discourage you from it.
Yeah, and I think
it's great advice.
It is great advice. And once again, you said don't put expectation. I have a saying, stand in expectancy, not expectation, because expectation puts an outcome that you can't control, and you put rules onto something. Expectancy puts you in a place of just what it could be. There are no things. And then once again, you emphasized the journey process, which that's what 10K hours is about, is that journey that you're taking. So if you don't put it in expectation, you stay in expectancy, you can stay open quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely stay open, because we set ourselves on a path thinking that we understand what path to take, how to get there. But the world is going to throw you some things that you're going to start zigging and zagging. You feel like you may get knocked off your path, but honestly, you might be, if you're open to it and your eyes are focused on the real opportunity at hand, you might just find yourself walking down a refreshed path and realize, oh, this is what I was supposed to be doing this whole time, and not this other thing. My interest in this other thing led me to what was the real goal.
Yeah. I mean, even when like I'll start up a project or something like that and go, okay, well, I know I need this, and this in order to do this project. 95% of the time, it's not true. But you mentally put those blocks or those barriers, you throw those in your own path, even though you don't need it. You know what I mean? Like, I just recently started doing a lot of, artwork on Twitch and doing that. And for every time I would sit down and start to do it and be like, oh, well, I need a better web camera, or I'm not going to be good at doing it, which is silly, right? I'm not going to be good at doing art unless I have this screen over here. That makes no sense, right? Or, but it's like, I feel like you're your own worst enemy at times by putting your own walls in front of you. But it's just one of those things that you can only learn that with time. You can only learn that with time.
It's like you. I think you are in the space of competition. You are your only possible competition, because you are the only person that can get in your way. And a lot of, I think, our path to success, regardless of how success is built up in our heads, I think a lot of that is determined by understanding how not to get in our own way. How not to stand and sometimes it's because we think, like you said, we need things that we don't actually need. We rely on this and that and think we have to be so much more. If we learn to simplify things and minimize the idea of necessity, realizing we have all the tools in the world that we need afforded to us to get what we want, it makes the process easier. We have less to worry about, less to stress about. And it also forces us to find our own potential and sharpen our skills a little bit more, because we have to think differently.
Yeah. I mean, I just look back at, even like when in my early, college days, I was actually started out trying to go for cinematography. And then I was just like, I was looking at camera prices and I was like, oh man, like it's just not going to happen. And I actually had, And I actually had like senior, class members be like, if you don't know anybody in Hollywood, you're never going to get a job. And I quit. I literally quit because of that, because I was young and stupid and I wanted someone to put that barrier up. because I was unsure, right? And nowadays it's even crazier because like this right here in your phone, you can edit, shoot, do everything you can, except maybe quality sound. But even then, you can literally plug something in and it's like a $50 attachment. You and your friends can go out, shoot your reel. There's literally no excuse when it comes to filmmaking at this point. You can and we can do anything you can think of, and it's crazy. It's a crazy time.
Exactly.
And it's just that old saying, just do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
Just do it. Don't put hurdles in front of yourself. Stand back, look at the big picture.
Yeah.
Right. Don't be so close that you don't see it. But this journey, I can't express enough of what your career has, taken everybody through. Do you have anything else coming up that you were working on that you wanted to talk about?
So there is a City on a Hill, second season, still coming when we get back to shooting.
Yeah.
After that would be Leverage, the reboot, and then after that is One Night in Miami, which is, as you said, we're in post-production right now, but that was I'm really looking forward to that. That is Regina King's directorial debut for a feature. She's directed in television before, so she's done her thing. This is her first feature film, to my understanding, and Regina, she's amazing to work with. She's fantastic. So I feel like we're gonna see some great things out of this project.
And on that, you're playing Jim Brown, the great Jim Brown.
Legend, Mr.
The Jim Brown.
The Jim Brown. No, that's amazing. Did you do a deep dive into football? Are you a football fan?
Well, it wasn't actually. I didn't deep dive into football. So the film One Night in Miami is sort of playing a biopic about the night that Malcolm X called together Cassius Clay, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke, and we're kind of in times like this where trying to figure out, what do we do? How do we use our presence to speak up, to lead? Right now, Black people need us. So it's about these brothers having fellowship and having a real conversation about their place in the world and using their platform and using what they can to help elevate the lives of the people around them in their community. But it's a very different conversation because we're in the 60s, you know what I mean? And they have different understanding, even though the variables seem very, very much alike into what we deal with today.
Yeah.
Eerily close to what we deal with today. So I had to do a deep dive into Jim's legacy and understand who he was politically, culturally. He was the president of the let's say the Black Economic Alliance. He was just a brilliant man, very outspoken, very much a go-getter when it came to understanding the value of Black financial independence. So, it was awesome to understand that side of him because we know the football Jim, we know that legendary status, and also, diving into all of his accomplishments as an athlete and seeing how much he pioneered when it came to the groundbreaking records he set there, a lot of which still have yet to be broken, and his move from there into entertainment on his own terms, however he wanted to do it. And you think about the tone that was set, and you see today guys like, Terry Crews moved from football to acting. You got The Rock, who goes from wrestling to acting, and these guys are doing it successfully. And I think, Jim was the pioneer of that. So it was a cool education on all four of those men, actually.
Yeah, and definitely, which I don't know what that movie was about, and thank you for clearing up. But he took what his status was in football and then put it to good use and was
use it as a platform.
Use it as a platform, which is once again pioneered early on. There was the group of them, like you said, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Malcolm X. That's deep, and and they did use it and put it to good use. So that's amazing. And experiencing that for you through a film with Regina King as a strong, powerful woman to put her aspect on it it's going to be an amazing movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it is. And I hope I lived up to the legacy of Mr. Brown.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will.
I'm definitely sure you did. You put time and effort into, like I said, your journey, right? From what we got today, you do not, take it half-ass.
Yeah.
I can't afford to. My mom wouldn't let me as a kid.
There you go. Yeah.
She made my brother and I earn the entertainment industry because, education was paramount. And if we didn't come home with A's and B's, we weren't going on auditions. Wasn't going to be no acting. So she understood how to instill within us priority, ambition, and accountability. And, still to this day, I try to move with purpose with whatever I do. I love entertainment for the sake of entertainment. I love entertaining people, but at the end of the day, it's got to feed my soul and my core. And I hope that, whatever I do can help feed somebody else's spirit in a positive way. But the thing that I've understood as I'm growing is that, life is just a continuous journey. It's up to me to figure out how I want to experience this journey. Even regardless of the things I can't control my state of mind. I can control how I perceive things. I can control my joy. And that's something I can't give away to people along this journey,
Yeah.
Got to keep my joy.
Master of your own destiny.
Master of your own destiny. And do you think that comes with age as you learn more and more as you get older? Because I feel now at my age I've learned that I'm still learning every day.
Oh yeah. That never
you
stops.
You never stop.
stops.
But
Yeah.
I remember in my 20s there were times I thought I knew everything, and
Well, I think everybody goes through that though. Yeah.
But
I for sure did.
It
I'm sure I
switches.
was terrible to be around.
Yeah, it switches. I think it comes with age and experience, and sometimes not necessarily the time spent on this earth physically. It's there's emotional maturity that comes along with certain experiences, right? And you get to a point where you just have to choose. Like, I remember I dealt with a lot of stress and anxiety and depression as a teenager and as a young man in my 20s. My mom, when I was 18 years old, my mom told me happiness was a choice. That's something I didn't understand until I was like 30, when I realized happiness wasn't necessarily a priority for me. My friend at the time, she's my friend now, we were in a relationship, we were breaking up, and she asked me where was happiness on my priority list. I was like, I don't care about being happy. I care about living, getting day to day, like surviving, security, food, making sure there's a roof over our head, like taking care of my family. But happiness wasn't there. I realized happiness wasn't there because it was the brave choice, and I was not willing to be brave and choose happiness. Stress and pain were so much more familiar to me. And in order to choose happiness, you had to be so vulnerable and open to it. And it was terrifying. But I realized it was necessary, or else, your spirit's going to die eventually. So I learned how to choose happiness, but it got to a point where I understood I needed it. So there is, yes, age, there's experience, there's personal exhaustion. And I think as young adolescents, we think we know it all because we are taught that we should know it all or feel pressured to know it all. And then as we grow, we understand how to be comfortable with the fact that, all these adults who we thought had it all figured out, they don't. They're still figuring
And they
it out.
never
They're still
did.
learning.
That's the
And
biggest.
we're like, it's okay.
I taking that, I think that's the biggest thing I'm teaching my daughter, that I don't have all the answers, and that every day that I am learning, and you will not know all the answers. But no, choosing the happiness, but it's a choice, and letting my daughter know. I think thank you for that. I mean, it is something that you gotta instill early on that you got to be open.
It's okay to ask.
Yes.
There really isn't, like, yeah, there's dumb questions, but are there really? You know what I mean? Like, it's, yeah. And it's just, I mean, it definitely goes, you learn that lesson of, it's something that, when I got into the industry, I came out here to go to school at 32. You know what I mean? And I've been in the industry for 8 years now. And it's something that it took me a long time to understand what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. And also, it's just when you realize, when you have that moment when you're like, you look around at your friends and they're like, oh, thank God it's the weekend. And you're like, oh, I don't care about that because I enjoy what I do. You know what I mean? Like, and that's one of those things, like, like I watch a lot of Gary Vee, and he says that all the time. Like if you're living for the weekend, you're not living. Right, you know what I mean, and that's it's something that it takes a while to sink in.
Yeah, I have a problem with that a little bit because, like, when holidays come around, I get so frustrated because I'm like, yo, everybody's off for like a week. I'm trying to get back to work.
To yeah.
You know,
trying to make movies.
There's a value in being able to slow down and taking the moments and take your weekends and enjoy it, but at the same time, you give me any kind of free time, and people hit me up, hey, Al, what you doing? It's Saturday. What are you doing? Bro, I'm designing a watch. I'm driven to it. It's what I got to do. I'm working. And because I don't feel like I'm pushed to work to service somebody else's agenda, I'm servicing my joy. So when you have the privilege of being able to fall into a line of work professionally that does supplement you financially, but also supplements you spiritually, then it's really a grand it's a grand experience and a reality that is not afforded to many. Right. I feel very fortunate that like yourself, I wake up, give me a Saturday or a Sunday, I'm trying to get back to business because for me, it's a part of my nature. It's my existence. It's what I do.
I will say I'm at the studio way too much. I would say that.
But once again, when you love something so much and you're pushed to do it and go to the next level, it's an ebb and flow of just let's push. And I, once again, I've gone in and out of that. And this year it's back again. That fire's back. To push and find that. So. That's
passion is king, man. Passion will fuel you for a very long time, but from time to time, you got to refill that passion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this episode, Aldis, is there any last minute things that you'd want to say, or?
I will say, I mean, I got to speak, to the current state of things. Right now, a lot of people are hurt.
Sure. Go right ahead.
And we got a lot going on, man.
Yeah, we do.
It's hard not to be deeply affected because we are tired. As a child, I grew up around the KKK. I've dealt with these instances my entire life. On top of that, we still have abysmal leadership in the White House at this point, and I'm not talking about one man. I'm talking about an entire group of people who need to be making better choices. We have this whole COVID situation, and we have people who have lost jobs, aren't going to get those back. We have people who have lost loved ones, can't get them back. Our priority right now is to maintain our hope. We have to be the hope that we are seeking, and we have to push the positive into the situation. Don't give up is all I can say. Is just don't give up, man, because if I can be crass, in my life, I've always said to myself, all right, man, when you're going through hard times, you got to go through the bullshit to get to the good shit. Right now, it's been, pardon my language, just too much bullshit, and we're done. But don't worry, because there's a brighter side to this and we can be that brighter side. So as long as we don't give up hope, then the chance for that brighter side to come to fruition will always be there. So just don't give up hope at all.
Well,
That's
thank
great.
you. Now, that's an amazing way to end. So thank you so much for joining us here at 10K Hours.
Thank you for having me.
No, it was great to have you. Anytime. Swing by the studio, stop in. We'll chat, talk art. But thank you once again, and we are out of 10K.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
man.
Appreciate it.
Peace.
Peace.